But if the email that you send them, instead of saying, hey, listen to my music, here's my electronic press kit, I'd love for you to let me play there someday, that email doesn't get answered very often. But if you send them an email that says, hey, I've got 40 people who have already put up credit cards to come hear me play and drink at your bar, that email gets answered. We've basically never had an artist who was successful in using RABBL and who gave himself at least 3 weeks to schedule a show. We've never had an artist in those conditions not be able to get booked because it's such a no-brainer for a venue.
These are like places that are concert hall type things. And has it ever been like a bizarre, sort of more out of the box type place, like a church or someone's house?
See, clap your hands. That show was, that club is technically an art gallery as well as a club. But the thing about RABBL, and we've done house concerts as well, I mean, the thing about RABBL is that the venue is completely independent. It could be anything: a fan's backyard, a barn, an empty lot behind the school. I mean, those are all possible with RABBL because you're not as an artist, you're in charge. I mean, you've proven this demand. You've got this money that is ready to be committed to your show, and you are really in the driver's seat as to where that show happens. And it depends. If you're if you're a singer-songwriter and all you need is a little PA, you got a lot of flexibility. If you're a death metal band, you're probably not going to be playing in somebody's backyard anytime soon. Although you could, but let's see what the neighbors would say about that. But
yeah, you might have. Who knows? You might have a bunch of metalhead families living around you, and that would be okay.
Well, it's true. We just did a show a couple weeks ago at a winery. It was a beautiful place, an amazing sunset view, and they did it in their tasting room. And, it was a singer-songwriter. It was Keely Valentino, who's a terrific singer-songwriter who is based in Marin now, but originally from Marin, but has spent a lot of time in Nashville. And, it was a pretty easy thing to set up because there's just a couple of guitars, acoustic guitars. And so that kind of concert is really portable.
Have you seen any concerts in Nashville?
I grew up in Mississippi, and I'm about to say that I have not seen any concerts in Nashville. I think that's true. I have not.
Yeah, there's so many interesting venues in Nashville other than, the typical, the Opry and whatnot. But there's all these little places. I can't remember. There's something called Printer's Alley. I think that a lot of
heard of it
up-and-coming songwriters will play. And, on Broadway and that main strip.
Well, and when I was growing up, the thing about Nashville that was a little surprising was the alt rock scene was pretty good in Nashville too.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a country place.
Yeah, Mr. Jack White, right?
There you go.
Got his thing going on. And you grew up in Mississippi.
I did.
Was there much? Did you? So you must have gotten into music while living in Mississippi.
Well, I kind of grew up underneath the family piano. Everybody played, and it was kind of hard to avoid, to be honest. My father started a symphony in my hometown. It was
it
was the smallest town in the country to have a symphony orchestra.
What town was that?
Tupelo, Mississippi.
Oh, Tupelo. Mm-hmm. So lots of piano playing in your house, and
well, my father played. In addition to the piano, he played the drums and the flute. He played jazz in a jazz band in college, and my mother was an organist. That's how they met.
Oh.
So there was no shortage of tunes in the house.
You could say you are here because of music.
Oh, yeah, no question about it. I mean, we all, that's kind of why we started the company. I mean, we all have a lot of choices about some, maybe not as many as we'd often like, but we have a choice about what to work on. And when we started the company, we were thinking, really hard about, well, this is going to be a very tough thing to do. It's very hard to start a company. And, after 5 years of struggle, what do we want to have done? And the answer is made more music happen. Because we believe that the system is not terrible now in terms of, whether a truly talented artist makes it to the top of the business, or at least makes a living in the business. But we think it could be a lot better. We think there are lots of artists who are not being well matched with towns in terms of whether they could actually play there. Because what often happens in the business, if you're a touring artist and you have these people who work for you and tell you where to play, they tend to play and tour you to places that you've played before, because there's data for that.
Yeah.
But there isn't data for places that you haven't played. So how do you know? Well, I mean, you can, in some cases, you can count the number of, spins that you get on digital streaming services from those towns. And, maybe you can count, if you're lucky, maybe you can count record sales in those towns. But those things have only a really loose relationship to whether or not someone is going to buy a ticket for the date that you propose.
Right.
And that's the beauty of RABBL, is that there's no ambiguity about it. I mean, they're either going to come, they're going to buy the ticket, or they're not. And then
There are so many amazing venues here. I live here in Castro Valley, close to San Francisco.
PodCastro Valley.
Thank you. Wow. Someone's listened to the show. Awesome. Yeah. And there are so many great venues there in San Francisco. But I remember one odd venue that I went to when I was living in Alabama, near Huntsville.
Oh, no kidding.
It was this little town. I can't think of it now. I haven't been there in 5 years.
Muscle Shoals by any chance?
Well, now that blew me away, Muscle Shoals, because I really didn't know about the history of Muscle Shoals. And then, I went there and looked around. I didn't really go to any of the historic music places. It wasn't until I saw that documentary about Muscle Shoals.
That's a great documentary. Gosh.
And I was like, what? All that music came from there. Amazing.
Yeah.
Rock and Aretha Franklin and Dire Straits and Traffic and all these other bands and people. So I just saw when I was in Alabama a show at a caboose. It was called the Red Caboose.
Huh.
But actually, there was a red caboose outside, but it was like an old saloon type thing. And there were 3 songwriters from Nashville. They did like a guitar pull, this is a song that Leanne Womack cut on me. I love how they say that. They cut a song on me. It sounds like it was painful. But it does,
doesn't it?
But that was such a fun venue to see music at. So that's cool. You're opening the doors to other places.
Yeah. I mean, we think that, if we're right about this, and we think we are, but only time will tell, people will be in a position to, in effect, sort of program their live music. So if you want to hear your favorite band, we've done a little research, and the number one reason that people don't go to more live music shows is the price of the ticket, which is not a big surprise. It's been going up a lot in the last 20 years. But the number 2 reason is that their artist that they want to hear isn't coming to their town.
Right.
And we asked, when we did that survey, we surveyed people who lived in big cities in California, and they still had that problem. I mean, you think about San Francisco, as healthy as the music market is here, there are still, there are literally 3 million artists that you might want to come to San Francisco, and maybe, 10,000 at the most come to San Francisco in a year. I mean, to give you an idea, there were a couple of guys in Richmond, Virginia, earlier this year, who decided that it was a shame that the Foo Fighters had never played Richmond, or had, I think they played it like 10 years ago. And so they got together. They worked in advertising. They got together, they made a little video, and they just started gathering money over the internet. And they managed to get enough money gathered. I think it was close to $70,000. And then once they got it gathered, they started tweeting at Foo Fighters, and sure enough, Dave Grohl saw it and said, "Yeah, okay, we'll come play."
And he did a full concert.
Yeah, and they just did the show. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Have you met David Grohl and some of these people that you've helped?
I've been on phone calls with a lot of them. I've not met them all. I mean, we started this business idea believing that for us to be successful, and this is sort of a mind-boggling number, but for us to be successful, we need to be basically making thousands of concerts happen a month. I mean, your average venue might do 20 a month. And we want to do thousands, right? And that's because we're a self-service kind of thing. That's why we use the word. We call ourselves a social booking platform.
Okay.
And what we mean by that is that we want artists, or for that matter, managers, or even venues, or promoters, to come on the site and decide what they want to do, log in, set it up, run it, and collect the money from us when it's all done. And that's what we're building, and we're pretty far along, but we're not there yet.
And it's RABBL.com, RABBL.
That's right.
.com. And then you also have a Facebook and a Twitter, and you've got some fun things on there.
Oh, we have a ton of Facebook followers, and we do tend to post quite a lot on our Facebook page. So we usually are posting a lot about up-and-coming musicians that we happen to come across. So it's a good way to discover some bands that you don't already know, and there's always a band that you don't know.
Oh, this is great. So yeah, like the RABBL Facebook page. It's probably facebook.com/RABBL.
RABBL Music, actually. Yeah.
RABBL Music. Okay. Mm-hmm. I just realized that I sound like that character from McDonald's. Rabble. Was that the burglar? That was the Hamburglar, right?
Well, there's that, and there's an episode of South Park where the crowd gets together and they're all. So there's a video on our website, and at the end of the video that explains how the service works. And if you listen carefully, at the end of the video, there's a little sort of homage to South Park, because everybody starts mumbling "rabble, rabble, rabble" at the end of it. You'd have to listen for it, but it's in there. Well,
Wade, you've got a great voice, and I think you need to voice a story for This American Life.
And get some Brian Eno soundtrack music.
You could be like, I grew up under a piano in Tupelo, Mississippi. The people there played lots of music. I would love to hear the story about your father starting a symphony orchestra in Tupelo.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Oh, all right. Well, I feel like Craig Ferguson. That's all the time we have for now. We're done. Do you ever watch Late Show with Craig Ferguson?
You know, I don't. I've just had a kid, and I'm not up at any late hours.
Well, he's going off the air soon, so watch one episode on YouTube or something before he goes.
There you go.
But congratulations with the kid.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for the chance to talk, Mike. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for being on the show. And RABBL, everybody check out RABBL.com. It's an awesome idea. I think you're brilliant coming up with this. This is great, Wade.
It takes a lot of work to make a new website idea, and only time will tell if we get this right, but we think we will.
Wade LaGrone, the CEO and founder of RABBL.com. Everyone applaud. Yay! Woo! As we go outside of the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in PodCastro Valley, California.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Topher Grace. I want that name. The picture is of not Topher Grace, but Wade LaGrone, the CEO and founder, of course, of RABBL.com. It's been such a pleasure speaking with him. Isn't his voice just wonderful? Way better than mine. And in fact, he should host a podcast. I think people would listen to it. I would listen to it religiously. You couldn't get me to stop listening to it. Mark, I'd listen to it too. He had a beautiful voice.
What about my voice?
Disgruntled Fiddle Player, I always love your voice. It's deep and resonant and very hick sounding.
Yeah, I am very hick sounding.
You two are lovely. I hope that Snapchat never leaks those nude pictures of the two of you, though. That would be, I think, a detriment to our great country of America, the United States of.
Mark, I'm going to make a root beer in honor of America.
Great. And oh, wow, you made that root beer fast.
Sometimes I'm very prolific. Oh, boy.
I ain't prolific today, man. I had my new roommate. Oh, boy. He had a girlfriend visiting. He was up. He got home late. He got up early. And then he's going to school. And he's trying not to make noise, but it wakes me up. I can't. It's tough to get used to a roommate, isn't it? Like Wade. he's getting used to a new